Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sister Circle Live this Ramadan on CVFM. And today we're going to be talking about the journey into Islam. And joining me in the studio, as always, is Sister Julie. Assalamu alaikum, Julie.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. I'm glad you're inside and didn't get caught in the rain just now, because had we have been coming to the studio, we would have definitely been caught driving in it. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm all right. Yeah, I was just watching the hailstones through the window, going, "Ooh, look at them." I was, I was just thinking back to when I used to cycle to and from work, and on occasions when it was hailstoning on my way back from work, sometimes it was like, and it tings off the bell of your bike, you know you're in trouble.
Did it do that, really?
Hailstones hurt.
It actually made the bell on your bike.
And the bell ting, yeah, ting, ting, ting. Like, oh, they're hard then.
But alhamdulillah, we're both in
Glad we were watching it.
And we're warm, dry, and no umbrellas or anything needed, so we're okay, alhamdulillah. I hope too many people didn't get caught in it. But at the same time, you know, the rain is Allah's mercy, isn't it? And the Prophet, upon him, when it used to rain, he would go outside, and even if it was just, you know, his hand that he would put out to receive the water. And when he was asked why he would do that, he'd say because it was coming directly from the heavens, and he wanted to touch them. So, you know, I know we don't like to obviously get wet, but at the end of the day, it's our clothes that get wet. Our skin is actually
not shrink, will we?
is water. It's our clothes that actually suffer more than what we do. So we shouldn't be too unhappy, really, when it does rain. We should appreciate it. And we have had some really nice, warm, sunny days recently as well.
Lovely.
I think the flowers and the trees will benefit now from the water.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, as do we when we've been fasting all day, and we feel that thirst and we feel that warmth. And how nice is it when you have that first, you know, that first sip of water after your fast, you know, and it just all day you spend all day thinking about what you're going to eat and how you're going to eat it, and you just want to eat everything, and you're imagining how many different types of food. But once you've had that first sip of water, you don't mind anymore. You're okay.
No, true, yeah.
You know, that drink of water satisfies you, and you're quite happy with it and grateful for it.
Yeah, it's lovely. Nothing quite like it.
Sorry?
First liquid after you've been fasting. It's amazing.
It is. So we might not appreciate it pouring down on us outside, but alhamdulillah, it's beneficial to the animals and the plants, even if we don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we are talking about the journey to Islam, because you told us, for anybody that wasn't listening at the end of the show last week, you told us that it was your 9-year anniversary
9 years, yeah,
of coming to Islam.
I'll have to have a cake if I get to next year.
Oh, for 10, definitely. And let's hope that it's not inside Ramadan as well, so we can actually have the cake and eat it. And not, you know,
I probably will still be inside Ramadan, actually, yeah. Guess it would be, wouldn't it, yeah? Oh, well, I can always postpone a cake.
Okay, we'll have to just open our fast with cake after the water. But yeah, you mentioned that obviously it was your 9-year anniversary of Islam for that long. And so, you know, I thought it might be a good opportunity to share yours and other people's stories of their journey into Islam. And
what about yours?
The show's not long enough. The show's not long enough for mine. I'm a veteran here in terms of, you know, the sisters who are reverts. I'm a bit of a veteran now. I've been here that long, but alhamdulillah. But you know, it's the journey to Islam is unique for everybody, and it doesn't even matter whether you are born into Islam or not. you still have that journey into it, because even the people who are born into Muslim families, because obviously we're all born into Islam essentially, you know, we all come from Islam, we all return to Allah. But those who are born into Muslim families do have the advantage of, or we assume they have the advantage of having Islam around them from the very beginning. But obviously not all families, you know, all families practice at different levels. Everybody's at a different level of Islam. So some people are born into a very, very active Islamic family. Others are born into a not as active, you know, active family in Islam. So, but however, if you are born into a Muslim family, you do have a head start over somebody who is born into perhaps a pagan family, a Christian family, a Jewish family, a Sikh family, you know, a non-religious family. If you are born into a family that do have even that ounce of faith in Islam, you have that advantage. You know, somebody will have done the azan in your ear when you were born. They may have done the akika for you and done the sacrifice for the new baby. They may send you to learn Quran as you're growing up. They may teach you to say Bismillah, even the small things. It's an advantage over somebody who was born without that.
Yeah.
And we all, regardless of whether we're born into a Muslim family or whether we're born into a, you know, non-Muslim family, we still have a choice to follow Islam wholeheartedly or to take a very different path. And if we take a different path, you know, it can lead anywhere. And I'm just going to, we can see messages on the screen. So if somebody does give us a shout, I'm going to say,
Roxana's saying hi.
Roxana saying salam, my beautiful sisters. And I'm going to say walaikum salam, Roxana.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you, Jazakallah, for joining us. So, and I will pause if anybody else puts a hello, I'll pause and reply to that hello. But other than that, let's get back to our talk of, we all have that choice. We all have that choice, and we can decide to follow Islam or not, you know, and the temptations are always there to take us in other directions. Whether it be because of the school that we attend, it might be a faith school that isn't Islamic faith. We could meet people at work, at university, at college, who encourages away from things that are, even in terms of any religion, you know, the right thing to be doing or the wrong thing to be doing. And we all have that choice to make, whether we come into Islam or not. The difference is that when we are born into non-Muslim families, we may find out a long time later what Islam even is. So, for example, my own finding of Islam, I was in secondary school. The first time that I came across Islam, there wasn't a lot of Muslims in my secondary school. There was literally, I think, maybe 3 in my entire year group of about 300 pupils, and maybe only even 10 in the entire secondary school. And I remember studying humanities, and one of my humanities was RE. And in RE, we studied Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Judaism and Islam. So I came across Islam for the first time via secondary school, but there was also, like I say, a couple of people in that year group who were Muslim as well. And I remember walking home with one of those girls, and I used to ask her questions, you know, why do you wear leggings with your dress? Why do you get to wear a tracksuit in PE? Why don't you wear the gym skirt that we all wear? And, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But until about year 9, which is what you're about 13, 14 of secondary school, I didn't know what Islam was, you know. I was aware of different races of people, different nationalities of people. Nadia Khan, walaikum salam, jazakallah
khair. How are you?
And, you know, like I say, I was aware of different nationalities, different races, people being from different countries, but I didn't really have a concept of people having different religions, not really, until I started studying humanities in secondary school and started questioning some of the girls that were in that secondary school that were Muslim. And it didn't make sense to me, to be fair, but I remember when I was studying humanities, and for example, we studied Hinduism, and I was fascinated by all these different gods. The remover of obstacles, the remover of the giver of peace, the giver of the daylight, and these half human, half godlike creations that they had. And I remember being really fascinated by it, thinking this is really interesting. It's not believable. It's a bit like mythology, like Greek mythology. It wasn't believable. And then obviously there was Christianity, and I was a Christian then. So to me, that was complete and utter sense.
That was a day job, wasn't it?
Sikhism was very similar to Hinduism in the terms of the different gods and that type of thing. And obviously Judaism had some roots that were similar to Christianity. We are obviously with Islam as well. And that was kind of the starting point where I realized the world was more diverse than my little bubble.
Yeah.
And some people like me go through life even into adulthood before they realize what actually other religions are, what they believe, what they follow, the similarities that there might be between their own, or the differences that might be from their own. And, when we grow up without Islam, unless we meet somebody who is a good example of Islam, we are going to very easily be misled by the propaganda in the media that quite often portray Muslims to be bad people. So then what happens is we build up a fear of something that's different to us. So rather than being inquisitive, I wonder what you believe, I wonder what they believe, straight away, fear. And that fear will stop us from actually interacting and learning from other people and appreciating our differences. So the journey for somebody into Islam, for somebody who's born into a non-Muslim family that doesn't have Muslims or even other religions around them, is very, very different. And I thought we should talk about it. And what I've done is I've contacted a few other revert sisters as well, and I asked them if they would just write me a little paragraph or a few lines on how they came to Islam as well. So as well as your story today, Julie, we have insight into,
if anybody got back to me as well, but no.
we have an insight into a few of the sisters as well. And I think it's really important to understand that it doesn't matter really where our journey began. What matters is where our journey ends. And that we all end up in the same place, which ultimately is in Islam, and then ultimately above that is, inshallah, in Jannah, together, being around those who we love and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So would you like to go first, Julie, or should I start with?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, well, what do you want to do? Yeah, I could do. You could interrupt me though.
Okay.
Because I'll witter on forever.
Okay.
So, you said you one of the points you said was that well, two actually points that you said, three, that you're kind of in your own bubble, and I was certainly that. I was practicing Catholic, so Christian bubble, very Catholic Christian bubble, living in Saltburn. So, and all my friends were Christian, most of them practicing Catholic. So I really didn't know. I lived in a very kind of white Anglo-Saxon town, really, I owned my own branch of Specsavers. So I was busy and just busy being busy, really, and wasn't particularly. A lot of people who come to Islam seem as if they're searching for something. They've either reached a point in their lives where things have gone wrong and they've tried to find some way to put it right, or because you're a bit unusual as well, aren't you, Amana, in that you kind of came into Islam academically. So kind of that's when it first touched you, and then you wanted to find more about it. But a lot of people seem to come through trauma or difficulty, or they're looking for something, or they get to a point where, like, what's my life about? What's going on? Am I, there must be more to life than this. And I wasn't really doing any of that. I was just very, very busy. And I think probably in hindsight, maybe being busy was a way of kind of filling a void, really. I don't know. Anyway, but I was very, very busy. I was stuck in this bubble. And yes, if I had any opinion of Islam, and I didn't really have any solid opinion about it, but it was you hear the stuff you hear about in the media, and I used to spend a lot of my time watching what was on in the news, thinking, well, it can't be that bad.
A lot in the news then, wasn't there, with things like the
A lot, yeah, great deal, yeah, an enormous amount. And it wasn't so much I kind of believed everything, you know, the media is a mouthpiece for people who have something to say. And so you spend a lot of your time looking at things going, well, it can't really be that bad. But if you hear bad stuff 100% of the time, then it creates a feeling around something. So I couldn't say I actively had a massive opinion around Islam, but what sentiments I had around it weren't very good, if you see what I mean. So I was kind of like, I wasn't at any point thinking, I need to find out more about this, because I was like, yeah, okay then, Islam, I'll leave it alone. And kind of a couple of things happened. I became a magistrate, which really gives you a window into, if you're living in a bubble, it gives you a window into what happens outside the bubble. You do. There's in the magistrates' courts, you see a lot of life that you wouldn't ordinarily see if you're in a kind of, middle class bubble that I was in, and I saw a lot of things that I was. It was this. Oh crumbs! You can see my cat. Anyone who's watching, you can see my cat crawling about. It's awful. It's awful having pets about. Anyway, yes. So that kind of made me kind of, I suppose, question a little bit as to what was going on in kind of society, really. When you think everything's hunky-dory, then you find out it's really not. It's kind of a bit of a shock, really. And I found the whole process. I stopped being a magistrate after a little bit, well, a good few years actually, because I was sick of trying to find the least worst solution to things. But it certainly gives you an insight into what goes on in society in general, and the people who kind of have a lot of dealings with the police and the court system, and it's different. It's definitely different. And also, I'd kind of come through a few. Both my parents had died, and that was quite. Well, it was very distressing, but they were both their deaths were quite difficult, and my daughter my youngest daughter had a really bad incident with a taxi driver, and she got out of the car, but she was almost molested, and that was really, so I was kind of reeling a bit from all of this. It was all happened kind of quite close together. So so as you said, I was kind of, the propaganda was waffing about in the back of my head, and I was kind of in my Christian bubble. And what happened actually at work, I employed somebody who was, and if she's listening, she'll know who she is, an optometrist, and she was first time I'd ever actually worked with a Muslim, and she was the kindest, warmest, nicest person you would ever hope to meet, and I was really quite surprised. And she's an absolutely lovely sister. I'm still in touch with her. And
she wouldn't be from Newcastle. She wouldn't be from Newcastle, would she?
No, she's local. Oh. But she was, but yeah, an absolutely lovely sister. And I've had this kind of model in my head as to what a Muslim would be, and she was exactly not that at all. She was down to earth, cared for everybody, very, very caring person. In work as well, would ask about everybody, anyone who she was testing at the family and what have you. And she was just absolutely lovely. And then very soon after that, because opticians, when they're training, they go through a pre-registration year, and my pre-registration student that year, again, was Muslim. So from never having worked with any Muslims at all, there was two, and my pre-reg was determined. Now I was meaning to find a quote that he said, because I actually made a note of it. But I think what he said was, this was after I became Muslim, that he wasn't going to allow me not to see what Islam was about. I'm paraphrasing him dreadfully, but something like that. And he was very, very different from all the other people I'd ever worked with. And it's really interesting, because you always find it in a group of, because I mean, like the staff at that particular branch of Specsavers, I think we had about 25 staff, something like that. And there's always an element of gossip, backbiting, cliquiness, people talking about other people. It's a thing. Everybody, people work together. It's a thing, isn't it?
More workplaces.
Yeah, absolutely. And my pre-reg Saeed never ever did anything like that. Cat, give over. He was completely different. Never indulged in it. Never just was never part of that silliness, really. And he was so kind of a really different person, and quite interesting to talk to. And but he was
in a positive way.
Quite
refreshing in a
absolutely way. Yeah. Like, everybody, kind of just, it's a thing that everybody seems to do in a workplace, but he never did. And it was like, what the heck's going on here? What kind of a person is this? And also he was, as I said, determined that I was going to find out about Islam. So in doing that, he was engaging me in conversations about Christianity and my faith. And so in engaging me in talking about Christianity, then that's an invitation to reciprocate, isn't it? Which is what I did. So I'd ask questions about Islam. And interestingly, some of the questions because Christianity on the surface of it looks like quite an easy religion to explain. And then when you ask questions about other things, like the Trinity, and you'd ask me questions, and I'm like, well, you know how you spell mystery? Sometimes you spell it with a capital M, and that means you can't explain it, so you just go with it. And he's kind of like, okay. And I would ask a question about Islam, and he'd be able to tell me exactly what it was about. And if not, he would be able to or point to a place in the Quran that says this is what we do. This is, there was never any and it was always from the Quran. It was never, second or third hand. Do you know, if you in Christianity, it's more about interpretation, and you get your interpretation of your religion from your spiritual leader, the local priest or something like that. Whereas this wasn't his opinion. It was straight out of the Quran, so it was like straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. So we'd had quite a few months, really, I suppose, of asking those kind of questions. And I was journeying back from, it was a seminar that we'd both been at. So he went as a pre-reg and I went as a pre-registration supervisor. And we were driving back, and I think he'd probably got a bit frustrated with me. And he said he didn't shout, but he was kind of forceful. He kind of went, with Christianity, Julie, just because you were born into it doesn't make it right. And I'm like, and it really kind of hit me, and I was quiet for a while. I'm sure I think he thought I'd fallen out with him or something, but I was just thinking. It was one of those moments where things kind of shift in your mind. And I thought, well, yeah, okay then. So, all right. So if I'm accepting things just because I've been born into it, then okay, let me read the Quran. Let me read about Islam then, rather than. So he said, right, okay, then I'll give you a Quran. So he gave me a Quran, And he gave me something else as well. He gave me a book called The Sealed Nectar. And he said, read the Quran. If I had any questions, just ask the questions. If he wasn't able to answer it, then he would find out the answer to it. But don't do anything, don't think anything, don't decide anything till I'd read The Sealed Nectar as well. Because everything has to be contextualized. And a lot that's in the Quran does need context. So yeah, I did, and I kind of devoured both of those books within a couple of months, really, and asked copious amounts of questions, like loads and loads of questions. So
I think what's important at that point, when you as a Catholic have read the Quran, it's good, and I think a lot of people don't realize this. And if they did take the time to read the Quran, would obviously have this in front of them, that there is so much that is in Christianity that is
absolutely,
in the Quran. And a lot of people, what they think is that actually Islam and Christianity is two very, very different religions. And yes, there are huge differences between them that obviously warrant them being two different categories in that sense. But there are also so many similarities and so many things that the two religions, if you want to go down, actually share. And I think, I know for myself, when I read the Quran, and what surprised me was when I started recognizing names. And obviously, both of us, when we're referring to reading the Quran for the first time, we're obviously referring to reading the English translation, not obviously the Arabic Quran, because one, that would take time to learn Arabic, which would delay our learning, or two, having to be able to translate Arabic to understand what we were reading. So whenever you obviously try to teach somebody about Islam, you have to give them a Quran in the language that they can read easily. The understanding Arabic and understanding the relevant, deeper stories around each ayat come later. Initially, it's just about reading. But it's so nice when you pick up this book that you think is completely alien, and you think something totally different to what you've ever known. And then you realize, hang on, here's the story of Adam and Eve. Here's the story of Noah. Here's the story of Solomon or Suleiman. Here's the story of, Job, Ayub, Jonah, Yunus, Abraham. And you realize, hang on, I know these stories. I know these people. I know these names. This isn't actually as different as what I thought it was going to be. And that actually kind of brings down a lot of barriers immediately when you realize that this isn't something new, but actually it's an extension of what you know. And it's a clarification of the misguidance that you've been kind of bamboozled with over time. Like you said, just about how you didn't question certain things. If you didn't understand it, you just went along with it anyway. So to suddenly have, and a lot of the time, some of the questions that you have from reading the Bible, the answers can be found just by reading the Quran. Even without having a teacher have to explain anything to you, the answers can be there. The answers can be found. So, Carol Dickinson, Assalamu alaikum, Julie and Amana, and everybody stay safe. Hope you're all well, inshallah. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Carol, it's nice to hear
you. Nice to see you. Nice to see your Facebook thingy. So, you're right. You are right. Yeah. It took a little bit getting used to, actually, because when you read the Bible, it's a story, it's a narrative, and it's not. The Bible isn't trying to overtly teach. It's more of a, you gain lessons from the story, whereas the Quran is actually, I suppose you call a surah, is a lesson, isn't it? It's kind of like it'll have a subject matter, it'll have a like subject around it, and that's why we don't get all the stories. It's the only story that we've got is like a complete narrative is the story of Yusuf, but everything else it's not so much trying to tell the story, it's taking the story or a part of a certain story, and this is the lesson you get from this part of the story, which is why we get it in little bits. And yeah, obviously I discovered that kind of going along, really, that it's more like a lecture. There's each surah is like a lecture in this or in that, rather than I'm just going to tell you this story. It's kind of sequential story. So it's a little bit interesting to read that. Actually, the first thing I did, because the copy of the English Quran that I got had like a glossary at the back of it. So I was I went to all the Christian references first about Trinity and Jesus and all that. And interestingly, because at the time I was married, and kind of at some, after I'd read the Quran, I think my husband decided he was going to read a little bit of it as well, or try to start reading it. And he did the same thing. He kind of went to all the Christian references. Now, it was interesting, the different response, because I read those Christian references. And the thing is, the Quran pulls no punches with regards to what Christians believe about the Trinity, about Jesus, and about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not being single and one, and is very, very definite and very damning about about those concepts. And I kind of read that and kind of went, oh, okay then, right, so that's where we are, right? Okay, I'll read more to get more clarity around it. Whereas he just kind of saw all those references as a almost a personal attack, and became very angry about the whole thing. Really, very angry. That's part. I don't think we'll tell you. I'll tell you about that bit of the story. But yeah, he wasn't happy. Yeah, and so it's that kind of the way it kind of, the Quran broke everything down into kind of, as I say, kind of subject matter. Was very interesting.
It's a hard read though, when you go from reading the
Bible.
Bible.
Oh yeah, I was asking so many questions.
Orderly, and then you read the Quran for the first time, and it does jump. So it will mention, for example, the story of Ibrahim, not just from start to finish in one go, but it will mention a little bit in this ayat, and a little bit more in another ayat, and a little bit more in another ayat. And and it is, I think when you read it for the first time, it's difficult to take in. But at the same time, the smaller chunks help as well.
Yeah.
So although it's a bit it appears to be unorganized when you compare it, and when you're used to something like the Bible, the smaller chunks are quite easier to digest. And then when we get to the next chunk, you've kind of understood the first chunk, and then you put two and two together.
There is a certain amount of repetition as well, which is, again, it's a little bit like a lecture, isn't it? If a teacher's teaching you something really important, your teacher will reiterate it quite a lot of times. Whereas, and that was another criticism, I think my husband was, he said, like, it just keeps repeating itself, and it's like, well, yeah, I suppose it's an important bit, but yeah, it was
some repeat as well. He always used to repeat himself.
Yeah. But it's, the thing is, I suppose it depends. It depends what
we repeat ourselves as well. Anyway.
Yeah, no.
How many times as parents you're asking children to, get the shoes on, ready to leave the house, and an hour later they still haven't got the shoes on, and you've repeated yourself 20 times.
How many times?
There's no way that we can question the need for not repeating. We live by, ourselves.
Yeah. Yes, we do indeed. Yes, we do. And I suppose the thing is that the different responses, I think, to reading the Quran is, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says somewhere in the Quran that, you will react differently to the Quran depending on what is in your heart. And whereabouts. I once said that I was, had I read the Quran at any point, I probably would have been Muslim at that point, but I don't really think I would have done. I think it has to be like right place, right time, and your heart has to be in a certain position to accept that information as well. And I think I was in that situation, and my ex-husband wasn't. So you do, it's that kind of, will your heart accept it? Yeah, but I asked so many questions, and the thing is, I think as a born Muslim, you'll never know what a revert doesn't know. It's just there are acres of information that are completely just even the stories. Because the thing about the Quran is, yes, the stories that have been in the Bible, those names are familiar, but the stories aren't, because they are sometimes fundamentally and sometimes just subtly different. But and the prophets in the Quran, alayhi salam, do behave very differently to the prophets. There's prophets of the same name. They have different motivations apparently in the Bible. There's lots of things that are ascribed to them that you would not want ascribed to them in the Bible. But yeah, it's that minefield, really. It's like it's not a learning curve; it's a learning mountain, isn't it? All the terms, all the and the stories within, the stories of the Prophet ﷺ are completely new and different, and things that someone who's been born into Islam, they've heard the stories forever, and it's all fundamentally part of their being, really. I have no idea.
I think equally it's worth noting that as somebody who isn't a Muslim and is given the Quran for the first time, and you recognize the names of the prophets, obviously, first of all, in the Bible, they're not prophets in the Bible. They're important figures in the Bible, but they don't have the same status that Islam gives them.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the case of Jesus, he's given a much higher status in the Bible than what he is given in the Quran.
Yeah.
But also what I noticed in my journey through Islam is that when I came across other Muslims, that not all Muslims were actually even aware of prophets that existed before Muhammad, peace be upon him, or that these prophets also appeared in the Bible.
Yeah.
So, for example, my children, they've been born into Islam and they've been brought up with Islam around them, but they go to a Catholic school, and they are the only Muslims in their year group, and they are only 2 of 4 Muslims in the entire school.
Wow.
So they come across, although us at home don't particularly teach them what a Catholic might do when they go to school. It's very rarely a daily activity in terms of what a Catholic would do. The school has a very strong Catholic ethos, and my children come home on a regular basis absolutely thrilled because they've learned something in school that they already knew through Islam.
Right,
yeah. Today we got taught this story, but we know this story, Mummy, because we have it in Islam, or we have it in Quran, or you told us the story already. Again, like you mentioned, there are sometimes subtle differences, sometimes bigger differences, but it's still there. But I do know of many Muslims who didn't realize all of the prophets that existed before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or the relevance of these prophets in Judaism, in Christianity, in Zoroastrianism. There are lots of religions out there that our prophets existed in there as well. And really what happens when you look at it, the world began with Adam and Eve in that sense, but the message was updated with each prophet that came, but it was finalized with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So just like the Jews, they didn't, their story ended when Jesus came. They didn't take Prophet Jesus and what he brought. They refused to accept it. And the Christians, when Prophet Muhammad came, their story with Jesus, they refused to accept the next chapter in like that. And some people, they question and they say, well, if Islam was the right religion, why didn't it come in the beginning? And essentially it did.
It did, yeah.
It was never meant to be, X amount of different religions in that sense. But, people differed with their opinions. People differed with How many times did different prophets come and tell the people, stop worshipping this false idol, stop carving these statues, stop creating these names. Allah hasn't given you any authority to do that. And Allah, these false deities that you have, Allah hasn't given any power or authority or permission to any of them either. And on the day of judgment, how will they be able to help you? The deities that you yourself have made, and then you call to for help. And this is what happened with, obviously, as the journey of Islam went, in that sense that people differed in opinions, and some people accepted the message that was brought by whichever prophet it was at that time, and other people, they stayed on their path of the false deities, the idol worshipping, and so on. And we still see that a lot today, because we see people worshipping other people. We see people worshipping celebrities, famous people. This person has a lot of money, so I want to be like that. This person's aesthetically very pleasing. I want to look like that. This person has a mansion with 60 bedrooms. Who needs 60 bedrooms? But I want to have a house like that. So we have all of these things, and
I think
we are still looking up to things that we shouldn't be looking up to. And what we should be doing really is looking to the prophets to be our inspiration, not celebrities, not famous people.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we look back through history of all the religions of Islamic history, we realize how easy people went astray, and we are still doing it today. So whether we are,
all the same mistakes, isn't it?
Whether we are born into Islam or whether we chose it later, alhamdulillah that we found it and didn't, allow Shaitan to lead us to the wrong path, guide us to the wrong things, or encourage us away from where we are meant to be. Because as you said when you mentioned your story in the beginning, you kept yourself busy because you were missing and you didn't know what it was. And I think as human beings, we all realize that something is missing, which is why Allah says to us that, verily with the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once you find Islam, and I don't mean the Islam in the sense of, I've read the Quran and I do a bit of this, but when your heart really finds Islam, it's complete.
Yeah,
you're not guilty anymore, you're not lost anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, on that note, we will pause for a short break, and when we come back, we will be reading and sharing some of our other Reva Sisters stories as well. So please stay tuned to Sisters Circle, and we will be back after this short break. Assalamu alaikum.
Bas, let's break! Take a break.
They say there are only two certainties in life, death and taxes. Here at Chuan & Singh, your local chartered accountants, we can't help you with the first, but taxes is something we know a lot about. With nearly 50 years in business, we have the expertise and knowledge to help businesses of all sizes and sectors. We offer a comprehensive range of accountancy and tax services. Our team has expertise in annual accounts, payroll, VAT returns, and a range of personal services such as wills and inheritance planning. So, whether it's payroll, account management, or tax planning, you can rely on Chauhan & Singh, Chartered Accountants.
Chauhan & Singh, 81 Borough Road, Middlesbrough, telephone number 01642 244 090. Visit our website for more information, www.chauhanandsingh.co.uk.
कभी कभी मेरे दिल में ख्याल आता है।
आपके दिल में सिर्फ और सिर्फ ख्यालात ही आएंगे। रमजान का महीना है और घर में अफ्तारी के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है।
ओहो, फिक्र की कोई बात नहीं। अल मक्का हलाल मीट मार्केट एंड कैश एंड कैरी है ना, जहां पर हर किस्म की दाल, सब्जी, चिकन और ताज़ा गोश्त मिलता है। इसके अलावा रमजान मुबारक के लिए खुसूसी ऑफर भी लगाई है।
अच्छा जी, इसीलिए आपके दिल में ख्याल आते हैं। अब तो मेरे दिल में भी ख्याल आना शुरू हो गए हैं कि अल मक्का हलाल मीट मार्केट कैश एंड कैरी जाके शॉपिंग करूं।
कोई नहीं जी, तैयार हो जाओ, अभी चलते हैं।
Al Makkah Halal Meat and Cash and Carry, 303 to 307 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough. Telephone 01642 965 487.
Following recent special measures imposed by all governments, the coming time for the poor and needy will be difficult. During this pandemic, many vulnerable and elderly people here and abroad need our support. Our teams are risking their lives to help save others, but we need your support. You can provide a basic hygiene kit from £15 and a food pack from £30. Call us now on 0114 365 4454 or visit us at familiesrelief.org.
वाह इतनी प्यारी खुशबू माशाल्लाह और सुभान अल्लाह ये देखो इतनी खूबसूरत फ्रेम ये कहाँ से लाए हो जरा हमें भी तो बताओ
ये सारा कमाल द लाइट इस्लामिक लिविंग और गिफ्ट सेंटर का है।
हमारे यहाँ कुरान और दूसरी इस्लामी कुतुब, हज और उम्रा के लिए लवाजमात, मर्दों औरतों और बच्चों के लिए इस्लामिक लिबास, जाए नमाज अजान कलाक, बच्चों के लिए इस्लामी खिलौने और इस्लामी कहानियों वाली कुतुब, घर में खुशबू के लिए बखूर, बने बनाए कफन मर्दों और औरतों के लिए, अतर, परफ्यूम और मुख्तलिफ अनवा व अक़साम के क्रिस्टल्स और इस्लामिक तहाइफ के अलावा बहुत कुछ दस्तयाब है।
The Light Islamic Living and Gift Centre, 18 Pilkington Buildings, Roman Road, Middlesbrough. Telephone 0473 610 710.
Dad, what's for iftar today?
How about pizza?
No, not pizza.
What about curry?
Nah, not curry.
Okay, fish and chips?
Fish and chips! Yeah!
The Palladium fish and chips, 100% halal and 1000% tasty. As well as traditional fish and chips, try our crispy golden fried chicken, burgers and awesome sides. Change your iftar menu tonight and choose freshly fried fish and chips. 5-star food hygiene rating. The Palladium Fish and Chips, 53 Eastbourne Road, Middlesbrough. To order, call 01642 641 924 or order online via our website, palladiumfishandchips.co.uk. Delivery service available.
This is an important message from Manjaro's. During this current coronavirus pandemic, we advise everyone to abide by the social distancing rules and stay at home. It can be hard, but it's making a difference. So please keep going for the ones you love and protect the NHS and our key workers. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives. And if you are craving a Manjaro's Palmo, then remember, we can still get a delivery to your door. For Manjaro's Express Delivery, call 01642 244400 or drop us a message via our Facebook page and we'll call you back.
On 104.5 FM, online, via the free mobile app and Facebook Live. This is CVFM Ramadan Live.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Sister Circle Live this Ramadan. We are with you from now until 7 p.m. with myself, Sister Amana and Sister Julie. And I just want to read out 2 messages before we carry on with our conversation of the journey into Islam. I had last week we talked about mental health and the importance of acknowledging if you have any concerns either about yourself or somebody else, both during Ramadan and lockdown, because lockdown on its own, gives us challenges. And obviously when we couple that with Ramadan and the challenges of Ramadan and we have the two together, we don't know how well everybody is coping, because Ramadan is normally such a very sociable time. And during lockdown, we have to obviously follow social distancing, and we can't visit family and friends in the way that we normally would during Ramadan. One of the sisters sent me a message last week, which I didn't get the opportunity to read out, so I thought I would do it this week, which is basically a contact number for the Samaritans. And if you don't know who the Samaritans are, they are a charity who you can call or at any time, day or night, and without any judgment, without any telling you that you're right or wrong, they will listen. And if they can help you by signposting you to further help, or just sometimes getting things off your chest is really good for you to, if you can't feel that you can talk to the people at home, or if there is nobody home with you and you're on your own and you feel like you've got no one to talk to and you just need to get something off your chest, which can, that unload can make us feel a lot better anyway. Giving somebody like the Samaritans a call when they're not sat in front of you, it's not somebody that knows you. No one's going to make that judgment on you or, nothing like that. They're just going to listen And if they can signpost you further, they will. And one of the sisters, she sent me the phone number, and I'm just going to read it out just in case anybody who's listening, either they themselves are going through some type of hardship or mental health, or they know somebody else who is. It's worth taking down the number for the Samaritans, which is 116123. Obviously, you could Google that if the radio is too fast for you to write it down. Just Google who the Samaritans are, or again, you can call them really easily on 116123. And I have one more message that I want to read out, which was just sent in today as we started our show. One of the sisters, she put a message up, and she said, please can you ask everyone to make a dua? So if all the listeners can remember to make a dua for her cousin, whose name is Kadir. He is in ICU, and he has been in hospital just over 3 weeks now, and he has had COVID twice. So obviously, nobody wants to have COVID once, never mind twice. And he's been in the hospital 3 weeks fighting that illness. So if we can all remember him in our duas, and if we can remember everybody who has been inflicted, everybody who will continue to be inflicted with this disease and with other diseases, may Allah give us all a health, give us all shifa. May He give us the patience, the beautiful patience to deal with that illness, and may that illness be a purification of our sins as well. Ameen.
Ameen.
So I just wanted to read those two messages out while I had the opportunity to remember, because fasting brain doesn't always mean that we can remember as much as we should, because we're sleep deprived and dehydrated and food deprived, and
my tummy was just growling so loudly, I was thinking it's going to come over.
Is it? Our brains
I could hear it.
So, while it was in my mind to do that, I wanted to read them two messages out. So Jazakallah to the two sisters who sent their messages. So Julie, if we can continue with your story.
Oh, yes. So I've read all these things, hadn't I? And I was convinced that Islam was the true religion. It was the truth. And but just because you're convinced doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it, does it? Because the consequences, obviously, what if I became a Muslim? How bad could it be? And I was thinking it could be really, really bad. Because my then husband was Catholic, but also from Northern Ireland, so it wasn't so much what he did; it was what he was. Because if you know anything about the time that he grew up in Northern Ireland, was when all the troubles were on. And it really, your religion was exactly who you were. You find out, you ask people if you want to know what religion they are, you ask them what school they went to, because everybody knows what the different schools are. And it was part of his being, really. So it would have been nice had he read the Quran and gone, oh yeah, that's the truth, let's be Muslims together. But it didn't kind of work out like that. And my kids weren't very happy either. I thought they wouldn't be very happy, but they were like, one was particularly very, very unhappy about the whole thing. But yeah, I was dithering. Because it's a link,
reaction, isn't it, amongst reverts? That doesn't happen to every revert, but it is a common reaction amongst reverts when they break that news to the family.
They're subject to the same media that everyone else is subject to, where they have their opinions are almost forcibly formed for you, because you hear so much negativity, or you did like 10 years ago, so much negativity around Islam that it would be a very unusual person that all that negativity didn't rub off to a certain extent. And because people don't like
it's worth considering that if you had come home, and again, this is like generally speaking, but if you had come home and said, tomorrow I intend to drink 10 bottles of wine and get really, really drunk, or I intend to have, I can't even, this is my fasting brain again, but, I intend to tattoo my whole body and have a green mohawk or I intend to pierce my entire body and run away with the circus. And kind of okay, families will accept that somehow.
Yes.
They're like, oh, that's different and interesting, but you know, whatever makes you happy, go ahead, carry on. But when you come home and you tell your family, actually, I've decided that I'm going to believe in God and in the God of the Muslims. It's just
oh, I know. My youngest daughter told me she would have rather
a worse bombshell for most people. They would have accepted most things that you bring to the table, but when you bring Islam to the table, it's most people have that experience where it's
crazy, isn't it? It is crazy. I mean, my youngest daughter said she would rather have had an affair. Crazy, absolutely crazy.
Because they can make sense of that. They can make sense of these things.
Well, I suppose, yeah, and they did feel that I should really have I don't know, consulted them. I think as well, which is it's an entirely personal journey. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's how they thought that would be, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you lot think? It was kind of absurd, really. But I suppose it's fun. One of those things. I'm on this side of it, and they were on that side of it, and maybe I don't know. But anyway, it was a difficult time and a difficult decision to make. And going back to my pre-reg student again. Because I'd kind of read all these books and I'd asked all these questions, and he's like, okay then, so what are you going to do? Do you believe in it? I went like, yep, I think I do. So what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. He said, well, you could die tomorrow. I'm like, oh, yes, I could. And what would that be like? What would, what a waste would that have been? To have known that Islam is the truth and not to have taken that step. I needed Allah. I needed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's really it, really. And it was so yeah.
Once your eyes are opened,
yeah,
you can't close them again.
Yes, that's it. It's like there's parts in the Quran that say, isn't it, that to know and then actually, make an act of disbelief is worse than never having known at all. Or, again, paraphrasing terribly, but it's that turning your back on what you know to be true. And it just got to a day when it was like, you this comes a point when you've just got to do the right thing, haven't you? And I did. So I made my shahada, sitting having a cup of tea with my pre-reg. Yep. He said, because they're all right, I'm going to do it. And he's like, right, go and have a shower, and I'll make you a cup of tea. So I went round to see him where he was living, and made my shahada. And the thing is, though, it's kind of like I've done all this soul searching, and no one will know how much I agonized over this decision. And then I was sat there, right, okay, I'm going to do this now. And he's like, are you sure? Why are you going to make? And I was like, you're going to give me like the like. Quiz me now that I've said I'm going to go ahead with it. And he's like, yeah, but you have to do it for the right reasons. I was just like, so about 50.
Isn't it? It's emotional when you do
very, very, very emotional, yeah. So yeah, did my shahada in over a cup of tea. And yeah, my family took it very badly, and my worst case scenario in my head was nowhere near as bad as it really got. Everything changed. I was a princess. I was no longer a princess. I used to just had that more money that I could dream of, and I used to just have the best of everything, go on amazing holidays. I had a fantastic house, and I've got nothing at all, and I'm so much happier now. What's it? Happier. Content, I think, and so I'm not always deliriously happy. I'm blessed with a demeanor that I'm usually happy, which alhamdulillah is an absolute blessing. Because things had got really bad at one point. At one point, I had to have mashed potato and ice cream for my tea because that's all I had in the freezer, and I had no money. But yeah, content and satisfied is what I always am. Yes. Yeah, and I'm so much better now than I was then, thinking, and it's one of those things, isn't it? You think that the pinnacle of success is somebody who has a big house and a wonderful car and takes loads of holidays and has a really successful business, tons of money. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. And you see these people on Facebook and you say you want to be like them. You know, you mentioned earlier about people who almost worship. People, things, concepts, and it's all rubbish, absolute rubbish. You what you need at the core of your life is a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's like, I mean, the things, it wasn't as if I wasn't a religious person, but Christianity didn't kind of fulfill that spiritual need that we all have, really. And I think that's why people do kind of worship other things, because we have a spiritual aspect to ourselves. And if you deny religion, if you deny that there is a God or anything like that, then that has to go somewhere. And that's why people end up, effectively worshipping people, things, money, that kind of thing.
I think what's nice, obviously people that come to Islam and they haven't come from another religion, that's a different story as well. But when you have come from another religion, what Islam does is it takes a religion that's very cluttered.
Yes.
And it throws the clutter away.
Yeah.
And it leaves you just with the bare essentials, simplicity, humbleness that I don't feel like any other religion offers. And I struggled with the simplicity a little bit myself initially. But I remember my first experience of a local mosque. And, when you're used to a church that's got beautiful stained glass windows,
statues
everywhere, and the robes that the priests wear, the goblets, the paraphernalia, the decorativeness of the different idols, and it's just the effort that's gone into the carving of the pew and all of this type of thing.
Yeah.
And when you walk in and it's like, here's my entrance bit, I do this at this point, then I walk to here and I have to do this, and I walk to here and I have to do this, and you've got all these traditions, if you like. And then when you walk into a mosque and there's nothing,
just a big open space,
it's just an empty room. And there's nothing on the walls, so to speak. There's nothing. There's nowhere to sit except the floor. There's no gold everywhere. The simplicity. And I initially struggled with my first visit to the mosque because I imagined because Islam seems so beautiful to me. I want the mosque to be so beautiful as well.
You expect the mosque to be beautifully decorated, and
and obviously, over my years in Islam, and I've traveled around the world and visited mosques around the world, and some mosques are very beautifully done inside, but even the ones that are still very beautifully done, that have got nice, decor and how they've been done. I mean, some of the mosques that I've been in, as small as they've been, they have been very beautiful. However, they are still very simple. When you compare them to what you get inside a church. And, in the mosque, you don't have these systems in place. For example, when you go into a church, especially in the olden days, you sat in a church in order of rank of who you were. So the highest status you had in the community, you got to sit at the front.
People have plaques on
you were a servant or an outside worker, you got at the back. You might not even get a seat. You might have to stand up because, you know, the seats were for those people with status, with class, with wealth, with relations to the clergy. You know, and in a mosque, it's just, well, if you're there first, you go to the front. If you're last, if you're late in, well, you join the back. You join wherever there is space, and you fill from the front. And it doesn't. There's no ticket system of, you know, how much you earn, what car did you arrive in, how much gold is on you, or anything like that. You know, who's your family, who's your relations. Just in you come, join. You know, stand next to the person that where the space is, and off we go. And the simplicity. But I grew to like that simplicity of Islam, of how it took, like I say, it just decluttered.
Yeah.
You know, the other
very simple message. Yeah.
And the simpleness of it is what beautifies it the most.
Yeah. It's kind of it's like in some certainly within Christianity, I suppose, and Catholicism, which is where I can only really comment, is that it does tend to be, there's things get, the more you try to explain it, the more complicated things seem to get. Whereas with Islam, it is so simple. I mean, the thing is, I'm not saying that it's not a very complex, deep religion, because it is absolutely that as well. That if you choose to dig, you can, you know, there is like the thing, like the beauty of the Islamic language within the Quran, that the words that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen, and every single word has huge and deep meanings, and you have to concentrate on every single word, because there isn't a word there that shouldn't be there, and it's, you know, it's you can dig and dig it. It's a little bit like you know, those fractal patterns, when you look in and you see a pattern, and the more you look at, the deeper you go. There's complexity there beyond anything that we could possibly get to the bottom of. But at the top, that message is simple and so easy to understand, and easy to kind of, it's weird, isn't it? Because it kind of sits in your heart, and it's like, yeah, that's right. It's you know, your head, it makes sense to your head, and it makes sense in your heart as well. Yeah, and I couldn't possibly explain that in words. It just sits there and makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, it was. So yeah, here I am. 9 years later.
Can you imagine if someone told you 10 years ago that you'd be sat discussing Islam on the radio?
Oh, no, definitely not. No, it was kind of, yeah, life's weird, isn't it? Alhamdulillah, it was all a journey to a point. I'm a firm believer that it was a journey to a point, and that point was, do I or don't I take the plunge, really? And alhamdulillah, I did. But yeah, as I say, if I'd I think had I read the Quran at any other point in my life, it wouldn't have had that effect, because I read it at the right time. Alhamdulillah, that's, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners.
Well, when you read the Quran, it says, doesn't it, that, you know, Allah guides who He wills, and He allows who He wills to go astray, and, you know, He opens the chest of some, while others turns their heart to stone. And we don't wrong us, He doesn't wrong us, but actually it's us that wrongs ourselves. And you know, how we all, and I said this earlier, but where we start from in our journey to Islam is doesn't matter too much. I always find that when I go somewhere, people always want to ask me, you know, how did you get here? Where did you come from?
Everybody loves a good revert story, don't they?
But all too often they want to make a judgment. They want to find some dirt on you. They want to find something that you did that in Islam isn't allowed. But what they have to understand is that any sins that you made before Islam, if Allah is capable of forgiving you for them, then you don't need them to approve, disapprove, judge, or anything like that, because Allah says that once you take your shahada, everything before that is forgiven from Him.
Yeah.
Obviously, from the moment you take your shahada forwards, then
you're responsible.
That's different. Because now you know better. But while you knew Islam, you know how you know we can you know drive past the pubs, because let's face it, the pubs are on every street corner. They're everywhere. And we can pass them, especially in the summer when you can see people sitting outside having their drinks. Sometimes a fight breaks out or something like that. And you know, I've lost my train of thought. Okay, but I forgot where I was going. But that's just my fasting brain kicking back in again. But it's gone.
You're kind of talking about what we could.
After the show's finished, after the show's finished. But you know, we don't always understand what other people are doing, and even as Muslims, we can drive past the pub and we can see the non-Muslims drinking, and we can think, you know, why are they doing that? But as Muslims sitting there having a drink, they don't know any better. They haven't received the guidance of alcohol isn't permitted. They haven't received the guidance on why. They don't understand the dangers of it as like we do. They don't understand the religious context of it. So to them, it's, well, that's what everybody else is doing, and that's what I'll do. And we find that in the Quran a lot. The Quran says, you know, we'll find you doing things that your forefathers did, just because your forefathers did them.
Yeah.
You don't actually know yourself why you're doing these things. You're doing it because your forefathers did it, and their forefathers did it, and their forefathers did it. And therefore you will carry on doing it instead of questioning, hang on, why am I doing this? And the people that question end up like you and I here. Because we suddenly question, why am I going here? Why am I doing that? Why am I part of this? Why does that appeal to me? Actually, what am I benefiting from doing this or that? You know, and we know, sticking with alcohol, we know that when we consume alcohol, that not only does it have an impact on our actual health, as in the liver can't cope, we can get alcohol poisoning, the effects of being drunk, the anger in some people have no control over their anger once they've consumed alcohol. Some people lose their balance, they can fall over, bang their head, walk into oncoming traffic. You know, domestic abuse, a lot of domestic abuse comes from people who are intoxicated via either drugs or alcohol, you know, and there are so many dangers to it, which Islam actually, by saying you're not allowed to drink,
it just protects us from it.
So it saves our physical health. It saves us getting into a dangerous situation. It saves our mental health by just saying you're not allowed it. You know, and then on top of those things, we can also consider what happens, that some people will go to places where people drink communally, and they might be able to have an affair. You know, obviously there's the free mixing aspect of being in a public house as well. The debt people get into to be able to afford alcohol, especially if they end up with an alcohol addiction, where they might start stealing things to be able to fund that addiction. And Allah just says to us very simply, alcohol isn't permitted to you. And we step back from that and realize how many things we have been saved from.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and that's amazing. And everything that Allah says to us, no. It's like with a parent and a child, isn't it? So your child goes towards touching the hot oven or the iron or something like that, and you say no. And the child might not understand at the time why. Yeah. But they trust the parent, that the parent's saying no for a very logical, you know, reason. And it's the same with religion. Everything that we are told no to is a very beneficial and logical reason to us. You know, if we abstain from alcohol, it's not benefiting Allah, it's benefiting us.
Yeah.
If we choose to not dress a certain way, we're not benefiting Allah, we're benefiting us. If we choose to eat certain foods, again, we're not benefiting Allah, benefiting us. So he's not giving the rules to benefit himself. Allah's giving us the rules because it benefits us and it saves us from so much trauma. But when we are asked as revert Muslims, where did you come from? How did you get here? You know, if you want to know somebody's story, ask, but don't ever do it with the intention of wanting to judge, because there will be a Muslim person whose history is worse and they knew better.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a revert, you didn't know better.
True.
Allah still took you through those things for a reason. And He brought Islam to you at that appointed time for a reason. And perhaps the things that you went through beforehand will actually make you a better Muslim, or will make you a better parent of a Muslim child, or will make you somebody that can go into the Muslim community and teach people about something because of, you know, how you experienced it. But Allah blessed you with it not being a sin because you are Muslim.
Yeah.
So it's also a blessing as well.
Yeah, I know. Yes, my student, when I took my shahada, he's after I take my shahada, he went, "I'm really jealous now." And I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because you haven't got a single sin." He said, "You're like a newborn baby." I'm like, "Oh, okay, didn't realise that."
So I've got a few messages of a few other revert sisters, and I asked them if are there in just a few words or a paragraph or something they could put together their journey. So obviously, you know, they're not going to go into every little detail in the messages because it's just a message. But I just wanted to share with the listeners how different we all find our way here differently. So this sister, she's messaged and she's wrote the following: I married a Muslim as a non-practicing Christian. I was intrigued about Islam, seeing my in-laws practice, and loved hearing about their ideology and what Islam stood for. I also loved all the Asian clothes, food, music, and family culture. At that time, it was all one big mash. I had no idea how culture and religion were separate and mixed together, and not always in the right way. Once I was married, I moved to Middlesbrough and I had a family. I left my full-time job to become a full-time mum. I was living away from my family and friends, and I met some new friends who were evangelist Christians. They were a breath of fresh air. I now had friends in my new town, and I went on the Alpha course and learnt about Christianity. I attended cluster meetings and was enjoying my newfound spirituality and friendship groups. As well as learning Christianity, I was also learning about Islam through my extended family and many books. I discovered that Christians believed that Jesus was God as part of the trilogy and not the man I always thought he was. Although a very special man, still a man, and I came to a crossroads. I loved all my new Christian friends, who were also a great support network. I found the more I knew about Islam, the more that it made logical sense to me, and I became more drawn to it. I was always sure that I wanted my children to be Muslim, but I wasn't sure that I could live the life of a Muslim. Although I knew it was a good way to conduct yourself and live, and wanted it for my children. As time went on, I became more conflicted and stopped attending the Christianity sessions. Someone asked me the question, why is Islam good enough for your children, but not for you? At that time, my heart was really pulled to Islam. Everything about it and what it stood for, I loved. The only problem was leaving my old life behind. I had already stopped drinking and mostly ate halal foods. I was afraid that my friends wouldn't like me anymore, and that my family wouldn't accept my choices. I was having vivid dreams and decided to take the leap of faith. I said my shahada out of the blue to my niece one day. Everyone was pleasantly surprised, and not long after, I said my shahada at the mosque and had a lovely day. The phone didn't stop ringing as I told my new friends that I was about to become a Muslim. This made me feel sad, as never in my life had I chosen friends based on their religion, but for their personality and their heart. My family never stopped loving me. We all got stuck in our ways and want our children to be like us. As the years passed, so has their understanding and, more importantly, acceptance of the differences. That's from a sister in Manila who decided to remain anonymous. I gave everybody the opportunity to stay anonymous if they wanted to, because it is obviously, you know, like you said earlier, your journey is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, in that sister's circumstance, she got married to a Muslim and then found Christianity and the influence of her in-laws and what she was doing with Christianity then kind of funneled her into Islam. And her journey was that way because that's how Allah wanted her to journey. That was how Allah gives everything in stages. You know, He didn't give the Quran directly to Adam and Eve as we know it today.
Yeah.
He gave them a guidance that they could understand for their time. Every prophet that came after Adam, up until Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was given a guidance that people of that time were ready for. He couldn't give the Quran to Adam. You know, and it's the same with our journey into Islam. We can't always just make that leap. Sometimes we have to journey towards it in digestible chunks.
Yeah. I think life has to change you in that journey as well. So she would,
doesn't it? Obviously, every day, you know, we grow and we learn something, and how we learn it and how we apply it can change our direction, can make us stronger, can make us question, can make us change completely. Not just in matters of religion, but in matters of everything, really.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about your journey through education, for you to work. I always say optician, but I know that's not the right way.
Optician will do. Optometrist is well,
I knew there was a better word. When you work as an optometrist, you couldn't just, you know, when you were being asked in junior school, so Julie, when you grow up, what would you want to be? I want to be an optometrist. Okay, well done, off you go. It doesn't to achieve certain GCSE results to get into college, to get into university, to get onto certain courses, to then sit certain exams. And at junior school, when you were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? You didn't have the knowledge to actually go out at that point and do what you want. And you might not have even answered optometrist. You might have said, I don't know.
Astronaut, probably.
Yeah, you know, it's different, isn't it? But things, as you went through school, as you went through life, things inspired you differently. And you are where you are today, not just as a Muslim, but in your career path as well. So, you know, that was obviously that sister's journey to Islam. But it's quite nice that actually she got married to a Muslim and found Christianity. And
interesting, isn't it, that learning more about Christianity ultimately led her to into Islam?
It does for a lot of people. A lot of people look at one religion and then end up, as you said, with you know, with your journey, that you start asking these questions, but the faith that you are believing in can't provide the answers that satisfy your thirst for that knowledge.
It just doesn't sit right sometimes. It's just you get an answer and you go like, is that your opinion? Doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, that kind of, it has to satisfy your head and your heart. I think that's what, because faith is very heart based, isn't it? And you can believe in things without actually having anything that kind of satisfies your head, whereas Islam does both. There is rationality behind it, a rational explanation of why there needs to be a God, that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, because you can't have faith on its own. It's a house of cards.
It's the gut instinct, isn't it, as well? It's that gut instinct when I mean, we can be crossing a road and we look left and right and we think it's clear, but then our gut instinct kicks in. It goes, no, just look the other way again.
Yeah, no.
We look the other way and there's a car coming.
Yeah.
And it's just that inner intuition, that feeling that something is right or alternatively this thing is wrong. And that's the same with Islam, isn't it? That once you find it, that intuition that we have, that void that suddenly is filled, that connection that we suddenly feel that wasn't there previously.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
At that point, you can't ignore it anymore, and at that point, you have to do something about it. And as that sister mentioned there, that not only did she have to, obviously she's telling her Muslim family that actually I'm Muslim like you as well, which they would have been really joyous about. But then she's got to go back to the church to say, Detour, thank you for everything you've taught me. I found Islam. Thank you. And but obviously sometimes when we choose a certain path in life, we can gain or lose friends, and not just with religion, but with anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I did, yeah.
But when it comes to religion, Islam can give us new friends because we find friends within the Muslim community, but we can also lose family and friends on the outside. And I know through different conversations with other reverts and through my own journey as well, that it's when you're talking to somebody who may be considering coming to Islam, we have to be really careful because we can push them too much to do something too quick without any thought. And Islam still gives rights to parents, for example. So we can't just go home and share our excitement of our new faith in a way that would upset or disrespect the parents. And whilst the rights of Allah are higher, we have to try and do it in a way that keeps our parents on board. We shouldn't purposely disregard everything that they have done, or anybody else in the family. Well, I don't need you anymore because I have Islam, or I don't need you because I'll just find new friends and new family. We don't have to have that arrogance about us. We have to try and keep our family on side, because we then become the perfect people to convey that message to them.
Yeah, well, they're representative as Islam then, aren't we, for the family?
You said with your co-workers that what intrigued you initially wasn't any text, wasn't any book. It was their character, the way they conducted themselves, the way they behaved, and got your attention first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all too often, it's very simple to advise people, well, if your parents don't accept it, fine. If your family don't accept it, fine. But that has to be a final resort. We have to try first to keep that bridge open, because at the end of the day, our parents, and I know you mentioned that your parents aren't here anymore, but your parents raised you in a way that you grew up and accepted Islam.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some credit has to be given to them also. They raised you in a way that when Islam was presented to you, you accepted it.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be too quick to cut ties. It should be a resort, and not just that, well, now you're a Muslim, go home, cut your family off. Don't see your friends anymore. Yes, certain things we do have to stop quite quickly. For example, if you are drinking alcohol, if you are eating non-halal meat, these things can happen quite quickly. We can stop these things quite quickly. But in terms of family, friends, we might have to meet friends in a coffee shop rather than in a pub, or for example, going to the beach, you're going to have to cover up a lot more than what you did previously. So there are changes like that. But we have to understand as well that some people transition very quickly and some people take years.
Yes.
As long as their intention.
And that's a very personal journey as well, isn't it?
It's very personal. It's very staged. And even somebody who is born into Islam might not be at a particular level. Again, it comes down to that choice. We have to choose. Allah says, doesn't he, in Islam, in the Quran, there's no compulsion in religion. However, you will be questioned on what you did or what you didn't do. So we can't just, disregard the stuff that we find difficult, but we have to strive for it. But some people find different things easy, and some people find different things hard. We're all good at different things, and we have weaknesses at different things. But we shouldn't put ourselves or other people on pedestals because of those things. So I'm going to read another sister's message. It says, Salam. My story is quite simple. I met my husband in my first year of university. He is a Muslim and had always been a Muslim. I also, at this point, met many other Muslims. I had never known another Muslim before going away from home to university. So from then on, I slowly started to learn about it and gradually began to fast during Ramadan and learned how to pray. It took me 8 years to convert, and at first it wasn't easy. I tried to do everything as perfectly as possible at once and took others' opinions on as if they were written in the Quran. Now, 23 years on, I still have so much to learn, but feel so much more at peace.
Oh, that's lovely.
And that is from Lisa in Stockton. So where we just mentioned there about people's journey at a different speed and how we shouldn't expect people to, jump in with both feet instantly, take time to adjust. As Lisa mentioned in her story, it took her 8 years to fully transition, to fully adjust. And when you think about it, and as she ended her words there, 23 years later, she still has so much to learn. And that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And never get to the point in Islam where you can stand there and say, I know it.
Got that now, yeah.
I know everything. And nobody should ever feel like, or belittle another because they feel I know more than they do, or, vice versa. And last year, my children read the Quran from start to finish in English. And I know there's a lot of emphasis from a lot of community groups to read it in Arabic as quickly as they can. But I chose to have my children read it in English. Whilst learning Arabic, of course, but I wanted them to read it in English while they're still young enough to do it, because I wanted them to understand what it says. Anyway, when they got to the end and they finished, and it was a lovely moment that we had with them, because obviously they were very young and they took them an awful long time of just a few pages every day to get through. And when they finally finished and we give them, a hug and praise them and congratulated them, and they said, now what? I said, now you go back to the beginning and you read it again. And they just looked and they were so shocked and surprised. And they're like, we have to read it again, but we finished it. And I said, the thing is with the Quran, every time you read it, you will learn something new. Every page that you will read something new. And your knowledge will increase every time you read it. Always as if the more you read it, you will start recognizing, I've read this part before, I recognize this ayat, I recognize this surah, I recognize this sentence, but most of it, you will read it as if you've never read it before. Your knowledge has changed between the first time, the second time, the third time, the 10th time, the 20th time, from the first year to as Lisa said, the 23rd year. And your life has changed, how you practice has changed. It's a constant learn. A constant learn. And I imagine, and I'm not a Hafiz, I don't know the entire Quran off by heart as many do, but I imagine that even for somebody who knows the Quran off by heart, that it's hard not to still learn from it, because as your knowledge grows and you start to understand, have empathy, have sympathy with the stories that you're reading, start to understand the logistics of the stories better, the situation of the revelations better, how can you not keep learning?
Yeah.
You know? And I think Lisa summed it up perfectly when she said that it took her 8 years to initially transition. And still 23 years later, she's still, alhamdulillah, here in Islam, but she's still learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and we shouldn't rush new Muslims to be too quick. You know, they have to, it's better to take one action and fully understand it and then implement it and succeed at it and be consistent in it.
Yeah.
It is to try and do 20 things and then end up breaking away and going, I'm really terrible at all of those things, therefore I must be terrible as a Muslim, therefore I shouldn't be here, and turn away from the religion completely. And I have known sisters do that. I have known people come to Islam who I even looked up to as Muslims because they had good knowledge, they had good understanding, and then they've renounced their faith after so many years or many years. You know, but Allah knows best. Allah knows best. I can't speak on it, but we have to be gentle, and the best way to promote Islam is by your own actions, and we should be kind to each other and think about somebody's whole picture when it comes to Islam. And the sister before Lisa, actually, she said that she liked the cultural aspect initially, the food, the clothes, the music, you know, how the family were together. And my experience of that is when I first started being sociable with the Muslim women in my earlier days of Islam. So I was a lot younger and I was still very much learning, but I was a Muslim and I took my Shahada. And they would be having like a party or something. The Muslim women would be having a party, maybe it's an Eid party, or sometimes just a party because they wanted to have a party. Or and
you don't need a really good excuse.
We're having a party on Saturday. You know, it's the whole bring a dish thing, and it's going to be in a house or in a hall, just women only. And do you have some Asian clothes to wear? And I used to look and be confused. And well, no, as it happens. I don't. I only have English clothes to wear. Oh, can you come in something Asian? And I used to think, why? You know, it's fun. It's dressing up, and it's kind of it's nice to embrace other cultures and be diverse. But I don't think they understood the impact of their words to me, and they obviously didn't have a bad intention at all. They didn't mean anything to upset me. They wanted me to be part of them and to blend in. But what they didn't realize was that it put me in a very uncomfortable situation because I felt like I couldn't come as me. Yet I was going home and I couldn't be me at home either. You know, and I said, I've got English clothes. Oh, don't worry, we'll get you some Asian clothes. You can come in those. And I had come into a religion, but I hadn't come into another person's culture. I wasn't leaving me. I wasn't leaving my English heritage. I had come into Islam, and Islam doesn't require me to change my identity in that sense. So I don't have to identify as another community. I can still be me. And like I say, I know that not a single person had a bad intention towards me. They wanted to make it fun for me. They were very lovely people. But it did impact on me. So we have to bear this in mind as well, that if somebody is coming to Islam, they are coming to a religion and not to a culture, not to a particular food type, dress type, traditional type. Any culture that compromises Islam, we shouldn't take anyway, including our own. But any culture that obviously doesn't is okay, as long as Islam says it's okay. But a person is taking on board a new religion, not a culture. So I just wanted to talk about that for a moment. I have a message from another sister. Give me a second. This is from Sister Nicola, who lives in Middlesbrough, and she said, I had lots of Muslim friends growing up, so I knew the basics of the religion. Then I met my husband and wanted to get married, so I reverted to get married basically. Then started looking into Islam properly and increasing my knowledge. So obviously in Nicola's situation, she met her husband, and through him, she learned about religion, and that made her obviously curious. And then she did her own studying and became Muslim that way. Now, I want to point out at this point that a Muslim woman is only allowed to marry a Muslim man, but a Muslim man is allowed to marry a non-Muslim woman. He's allowed to marry a Christian or a Jew, but it's better if he marries a Muslim. But he is permitted to marry otherwise.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in her husband choosing her. Okay, so we have to make that clear first of all, because some people, talk about, Muslims cannot marry non-Muslims. There are situations where they can.
Yeah.
So he was within his Islamic rights to marry the wife that he did. Secondly, I hear this a lot when people say things like, "Oh, just take your shahada just to marry this person." People say it's wrong. But in this instance, with this sister, for example, we see this a lot. Her husband still brought her to Islam.
Yeah.
End goal is still the right one.
Yeah.
So, the blessings that anybody gets for guiding somebody else to Islam, we can only imagine how big they would be. That reward is with Allah. Then blessings are with Allah. But, we shouldn't be judgmental on people who, you only became Muslim to marry that person. If that person becomes a practicing Muslim, it's different. It's different. But the person that brought you to Islam is still going to get the blessings, is still going to get the reward.
Yeah.
And that's big. So, she initially said she initially reverted to marry her husband, which is common. But then she became Muslim through that marriage. So, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. I have another sister whose story is similar. This is from Louise from Stockton, and she said, "I was brought up Catholic and had a few Muslim friends." Her story is quite similar to Nicola's. I was brought up Catholic and had a few Muslim friends. Spent a lot of time with one of them in particular, who you could say became a boyfriend. He started telling me about Islam, and it seemed to make more and more sense than what I already knew. I researched it more and eventually decided that this was the decision I was happy with. So when people say, "Oh, you only did it for him," no. When you decide to become Muslim and that decision is internal, that's never for a person. That's for yourself.
Yeah.
That is purely for yourself. So both Louise and Nicola, they may have had the initial interaction, with their husbands. But when you feel it inside here, that's not from your husband or your potential husband. That's from you. That's Allah guiding you. That's Allah filling the void. And you make that decision for you. And I remember having a conversation actually with Louise. And we were talking about what would happen if either of us ever found out ourselves in a position where we were divorced from our husbands. Would we go back to a life without Islam? And both of us said no, because we're not with our husbands because of anything. We are not with Islam because of our husbands.
Yeah.
We are with Islam because we acknowledged that it was right, that it was true religion, and it was right for us.
Yeah.
Just like you, Julie, with your story, you realized that was the same with you. Let me just read. We have a message on the screen from Samina Khan. It says, "Salam sisters, your stories are amazing. All gratitude to yourselves. We have so much to learn. Walaikum salam, Samir. Jazakallah khair for listening and for your words. Sorry, there's another message from you. It says, you made a really good point. Although I was born into an Islamic background with Pakistani culture growing up, I had to face the same things you did as far as the way we dressed and the way we spoke by our own so-called community. We are who we are. See us for that. Don't be judgmental on the way we dress to come from. Thank you so much for the message, Samira. It is, you know, we all, whether we're born into Islam or we find that journey later on, just because somebody is born into Islam, I mentioned this earlier, they may not be, you know, at the height of practicing. They may be very beginners still. So we still have that choice individually, you know. For example, even somebody who raises their children and they raise their children upon the deen as strict as they can, their child can still, once they go to college or university, become distracted or become misguided or become misled and move away from that path, you know, because they are now old enough to make up their own choice.
Or the exact opposite can happen as well. There's a lot of sisters that I know were born into Islam, but they think of themselves as reverts, just simply because of the kind of the way they were brought up, and then they then feel that they're practicing properly when they become adults and find out more about the religion. So it's again, it's, as you say, it's what goes on in your heart, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know sisters. I know sisters as well, actually, who, like you say, were born into Islam, but still consider themselves reverts because as they looked into Islam for themselves, they found the deeper meaning, and that's when they began, or they feel they began
their journey,
their journey properly. So absolutely. Just the challenges are obviously different. Nobody has the same challenge. For somebody who's born into a household with no religion, perhaps, or somebody who is, you know, like yourself, you were born into a Catholic household. So it's very different for everybody. I just have one more sister's story to read. And this is from Sister D in Stockton. And she wrote, I was born into an English family, my mother English, but my absent father Asian. Raised in a family that didn't follow any faith whatsoever. Fast forward to my adult life, I met my husband who is a Muslim, which made me curious about Islam. So I started to take a look, and the rest, as they say, is history. I've never looked back. Although my knowledge is very basic, I've met some fantastic sisters who are always on hand to guide and support me. I didn't find Islam, Islam found me.
Yes, very definitely.
Finishes it perfectly because, as we said earlier, you know, Allah guides who He wills, how He wills, and their journey is as He intended it to be. There is no right or wrong journey to Islam. There is no right or wrong way of getting here. Shanaila Sheikh, how is Ramadan going? Assalamu alaikum and Jazakallah khair for your message. It's going fantastic, and I hope God is too. Alhamdulillah. May Allah give us all a really beneficial Ramadan this year, inshallah. MashaAllah, I am so happy you took up Islam, MashaAllah. We are happy too.
Yeah, we're happy,
Happy to be here.
I think Islam took us up.
And
we were steamrolled.
We're happy to be here as well. And I think as Sister D finished there, you know, she didn't find Islam found her, and that's the case with us all. You know, it came and it found us, and we have to. There's I can't remember if it's a hadith or a dua, but it says that, you know, I am pleased with Allah as my Lord. I am pleased with Allah as my Lord. Islam is my religion, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the final messenger. And you know, that's it, isn't it? That's where it needs to be. I'm sorry, Sister Shanila, you're asking a question, but we're going to have to come to a close. But I'll give you a very quick answer, which said, when did you take up Islam? when I was 19, and I'm now in the 40 category plus. So a long time ago. Alhamdulillah. So yeah, I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran in terms of your years, I suppose, Julia, aren't I really?
Yes, but then that's a good thing.
Essentially, Julie, you're younger than me.
Eh?
You're younger than me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm the same as Lisa. I've been here 23 years. So I'm 23 and you're 9.
10. 9, yes, nearly 10. I'll get on 10 next year, yeah.
I'll have to have a 30th birthday party again.
Yeah.
So thank you to all the sisters who have took the time to say hi while we've been on the show. It's lovely just to
great, yeah.
Pop up and know that somebody's listening and they're happy to listen. And obviously, thank you and Jazakallah khair to all the sisters who took the time to just write them little stories and allowed me to read them out, to share with the listeners, to give examples of different people's journeys and how they got here. But again, I reiterate to all of us, whether we are born into this religion knowingly, or whether we have been born into other religions, what matters is where we finish. And that is the most important part of our journey, the goalposts and reaching them. And our ultimate goal is to be within Islam. And the ultimate goal of that is to make it together into Jannah, inshallah. So, Jazakallah khair, Julie, for sharing your story.
Welcome.
On your 9th birthday party. I don't know what to call it, but
anniversary.
That's the word, anniversary. It's the first word, isn't it? But yeah, congratulations on your 9-year anniversary. And Jazakallah khair for obviously sharing it with us. Always lovely to hear nice, positive, happy stories amongst all the doom and gloom that's going on out there at the moment. So obviously that's the end of our show today. Jazakallah khair to all the listeners for tuning in and listening to Sister Circle this week. Please do tune in to us next week as well from 5 o'clock. So we're here every Sunday during Ramadan from 5 till 7 with myself and Sister Julie, inshallah. Please have a fantastic, beneficial, healthy, happy, healing week until we hear from us again. May Allah accept all your du'as, hear every single one of your du'as, accept all your striving towards Him, all the food that you were giving up, the sleep that you were giving up, the fluids that you were giving up, all those who are suffering from anxiety, mental health around the current situation, may Allah ease it for you, and may He grant us all a beautiful patience to get through this lockdown and this month of Ramadan. Ameen. Anything you want to Okay, Jazakallah khair for listening to Sister Circle, and please tune in again with us next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
And now, it's time for commercial break.
मुश्ताक दीदारां दे हाय
मियां मुश्ताक ब्रदर्स और फैमिली की तरफ से आप सबको रमजान की बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो.
Ahmed Foods are Mushtaq Brothers, serving Teesside since 1967. Despite the current COVID restrictions, we at Ahmed Foods continue to offer our customers a first-class service, unparalleled choice and value for money. When visiting our store, please observe social distancing, as safety is of paramount importance. Visit us today for all your daily essentials: chapati flour, rice, cooking oils, fresh halal chicken, lamb, beef and a huge range of dried food products and drinks. Ahmed Foods, 6 Northcote Street, Stockton-on-Tees. Telephone 01642 676636.
आपके पाँव बहुत हसीन हैं, इनको जमीन पर मत रखिएगा, मैले हो जाएंगे।
अच्छा, अगर है इतना ही ख्याल तो ले चलो ना बोरो कारपेट्स एंड बेड्स के पास, जो है कारपेट्स और बेड्स में बेमिसाल।
जिनके शाना कारपेट्स एंड दीदार फर्नीचर आपके घर का नक्शा ही बदल देंगे। पूरे मिल्सबरा में घूम लीजिए, लेकिन आखिर क्वालिटी और कीमत हमसे बेहतर आपको कहीं और नहीं मिलेगी।
बोरो कारपेट्स एंड बेड्स, 131 पार्क लेन, मिडलसबरा, टेलीफोन 01642 688 786।
मैं इस लॉकडाउन से तंग आ गई हूँ। जब से लॉकडाउन हुआ मुझे अच्छा खाना भी नहीं मिला।
तंग होने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, आप क्लकीज को फोन करें। क्लकीज फ्राइड चिकन, जहां आपको मिलेगा लजीज फ्राइड चिकन, पिज्जा, बर्गर्स, रैप्स और बहुत कुछ और।
Clucky's Fried Chicken.
Lucky's Fried Chicken, 295 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough. ऑर्डर करने के लिए डायल कीजिए 01642230900.
Download our mobile app or order online via our website and receive 10% discount. Visit www.cluckysfriedchicken.com.
चिकन का असली मजा तो क्लकीज में है.
Clucky's open 11:30 a.m. till late.
This Ramadan, give your zakat in the name of Allah. With SKT Welfare, your zakat transforms lives, helping children go to school, providing clean and safe water, and enough food to eat. The coronavirus pandemic has left millions in urgent need. The time to act is now. Our 100% zakat policy means every penny will go directly to those most in need. Donate now on sktwelfare.org or call 0300 30 20 786.
Do you have a wedding, birthday, mehndi or engagement party coming up? Then listen up, because here at Your Events, we specialise in providing a range of bespoke services which will make your event one to remember. We can take care of all your arrangements, from cakes, fruit displays, chocolate fountains, dessert tables, photography, videography and so much more. An events management and wedding planning company to cater for all your events. Call Shuaib Majid on 07714 199 453 for a free consultation and let Your Events take the stress out of your big day. For further information, visit us online at www.youreventsne.co.uk, our social media channels on @yourevents.ne.
This is an important message from the government. For now, we must all still stay at home. It can be hard, but it's making a difference. So please keep going for the ones you love. Keep going for every key worker on the front line as they keep going for us. Keep going, because together we will beat the virus. To all of you making sacrifices every day, thank you. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
The station that lives and loves Ramadan, this is 104.5 CVFM Ramadan Live.
And now, it's time for commercial break.
मुश्ताक दीदारां दे हाय।
मियां मुश्ताक ब्रदर्स और फैमिली की तरफ से आप सबको रमजान की बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो।
Ahmed Foods are Bush-Tack Brothers, serving Teesside since 1967. Despite the current COVID restrictions, we at Ahmed Foods continue to offer our customers a first-class service, unparalleled choice and value for money. When visiting our store, please observe social distancing, as safety is of paramount importance. Visit us today for all your daily essentials: chapati flour, rice, cooking oils, fresh halal chicken, lamb, beef and a huge range of dried food products and drinks. Ahmed Foods, 6 Northcote Street, Stockton-on-Tees. Telephone 01642 676636.
आपके पाँव बहुत हसीन हैं, इनको जमीन पर मत रखिएगा, मैले हो जाएंगे।
अच्छा, अगर है इतना ही ख्याल तो ले चलो ना बोरो कारपेट्स एंड बेड्स के पास, जो है कारपेट्स और बेड्स में बेमिसाल,
जिनके शाना कारपेट्स एंड दीदा जेब फर्नीचर आपके घर का नक्शा ही बदल देंगे। पूरे मिल्सबरा में घूम लीजिए, लेकिन आखिर क्वालिटी और कीमत हमसे बेहतर आपको कहीं और नहीं मिलेगी।
बोरो कारपेट्स एंड बेड्स, 131 पार्क लेन, मिडलसबरा, टेलीफोन 01642 688 786।
मैं इस लॉकडाउन से तंग आ गई हूँ। जब से लॉकडाउन हुआ मुझे अच्छा खाना भी नहीं मिला।
तंग होने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, आप क्लकीज को फोन करें। क्लकीज फ्राइड चिकन, जहां आपको मिलेगा लजीज फ्राइड चिकन, पिज्जा, बर्गर्स, रैप्स और बहुत कुछ और।
Clucky's Fried Chicken.
Lucky's Fried Chicken, 295 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough. ऑर्डर करने के लिए डायल कीजिए 01642230900.
Download our mobile app or order online via our website and receive 10% discount. Visit www.cluckysfriedchicken.com.
चिकन का असली मजा तो क्लकीज में है।
Clucky's open 11:30 a.m. till late.
This Ramadan, give your zakat in the name of Allah. With SKT Welfare, your zakat transforms lives, helping children go to school, providing clean and safe water, and enough food to eat. The coronavirus pandemic has left millions in urgent need. The time to act is now. Our 100% zakat policy means every penny will go directly to those most in need. Donate now on sktwelfare.org or call 0300 30 20 786.
Do you have a wedding, birthday, Mendy, or engagement party coming up? Then listen up, because here at Your Events, we specialise in providing a range of bespoke services which will make your event one to remember. We can take care of all your arrangements, from cakes, fruit displays, chocolate fountains, dessert tables, photography, videography, and so much more. An events management and wedding planning company to cater for all your events. Call Shuaib Majid on 07714 199 453 for a free consultation and let Your Events take the stress out of your big day. For further information, visit us online at www.youreventsne.co.uk, our social media channels on @yourevents.ne.
This is an important message from the government. For now, we must all still stay at home. It can be hard, but it's making a difference. So please keep going for the ones you love. Keep going for every key worker on the front line as they keep going for us. Keep going, because together we will beat the virus. To all of you making sacrifices every day, thank you. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
The station that lives and loves Ramadan, this is 104.5 CVFM Ramadan Live.
बसी है दिल में न